A lot of iconic Marvel villains have already appeared in the MCU, but not all of them got the appropriate amount of time to develop. Except for Loki, no Marvel villains has really stuck around for a very long time. Even Thanos, who was teased for years, only ended up appearing in a few movies. Even worse, some of Marvel's biggest villains only made a single appearance in the MCU before getting killed off. This has led to something of an issue as the MCU ages. Because Marvel has killed off so many of its big villains, the MCU timeline is in a place where there aren't many left to work with. Now that Marvel has run into a problem with Kang due to the MCU cutting ties with actor Jonathan Majors, this issue has come into focus as the franchise lacks many antagonists to fall back on. Killing villains of prematurely also stopped Marvels from being able to develop those characters over time the same way they did with their heroes, preventing them from building hype for these figures over a greater period of time. Number 10. Ultron was set up as a bigger threat than he really was. Avengers. Age of Ultron did a good job setting up just how big of a threat Ultron could be to the Avengers. He was able to travel through computer networks, absorb massive amounts of data quickly, and even upgrade himself. This seemed like a recipe for a good recurring antagonist that would be hard to get rid of. However, by the end of the movie, Ultron was defeated, never to be seen again. Marvel could easily have teased that Ultron's consciousness was still alive in some following Avengers. Age of Ultron. This would have allowed Marvel to pocket the character to possibly bring back later. In a weakened state, Ultron could have popped up now again as an ally of convince to other villains seeking to destroy the Avengers. This could gain Ultron a consistent presence and set him up for a return to full power sometime in the future. Number 9. Mysterio would have been perfect for the MCU Sinister 6. The MCU Mysterio from Spider-Man Far From Home was a fun and unique version of the villain. Mysterio's illusions also made for some very interesting visuals that were unlike anything other MCU villains have pulled off. Mysterio's death at the end of the movie seemed pretty definitive, and it doesn't seem like Marvel has any plans to bring him back from the dead. Killing off Mysterio isn't just unfortunate because Spider-Man is losing a fun villain, but also a potential member of the Sinister Six. The popular Spider-Man villain team has been eagerly anticipated since Sony's original plans for a Sinister Six movie fell through. It would have been nice to have Mysterio joining other MCU villains like the Vulture and possibly the future Scorpion. So, more of the team had an established history with Spider-Man. Number 8. Gore, the God Butcher, ultimately didn't change much in the MCU. In Marvel Comics, Gore, the God Butcher, had lasting effects on the universe. He even led to Thor being considered unworthy of wielding Mjolnir for some time after their conflict. Unfortunately, the MCU version of Gore failed to live up to the same standards, having little lasting impact. What makes Gore's death even worse in the MCU is that he was played very well by Christian Bale. Bale made Gore creepy and intimidating, while also managing to get audiences to sympathize with the raw hand he was dealt by his god. Of course, Gore's death may have been an effort to tie up loose ends from the Thor franchise, given that there currently aren't any plans for a next installment. Number 7. Killmonger was too interesting to kill so soon. Killmonger is often lauded as one of the MCU's best villains. Part of what made him so memorable is that his beliefs had a major impact on the wider MCU because of the way Killmonger influenced T'Challa Wakanda, revealed itself to the world and began trying to help who it could instead of staying isolated. Killmonger's complicated relationship with his Wakandan family could also have made for great future stories. Black Panther Wakanda Forever already gave a glimpse of what it could look like if Killmonger was still around, showing how his memory influenced Shuri on the ancestral plane. A living Killmonger could have done the same, with the added tension that Shuri might let him out to help fight the invaders from Telecon. Number 6. Ulysses Klaue never got to live up to his comic book self. Ulysses Klaue, or Klaue, in the comics has quite a long history in Marvel stories. Not only has been an antagonist to Black Panther, but also the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. Though Klaue's power were changed in the MCU, he could still have served as a good long-term villain, given his established traits. Klaue in the MCU was an arms dealer who wanted to steal vibranium from Wakanda. Had he not been shot by Killmonger, Klaue could have made an excellent future threat to Telecon as well. This could put him in conflict with Namor and fuel the Telecon leaders' hatred of the surface world. Number 5. Malekith could have helped explore more of Thor's world. Malekith was a pretty forgettable villain in Thor. The Dark World, his eventual death at the end of the movie, was likely not a big disappointment to MCU viewers, but knowing his comic book history changes things. Malekith has been instrumental in some major Marvel events, most notably the War of the Realms. War of the Realms would have given the MCU an excellent way to explore more of Thor's mythology and travel to new interesting locations. Malekith has also run afoul of some newly introduced MCU character, Hercules and Zeus. Had Malekith had more of his tricky personality, he could have made interesting antagonists for the Greek mythological figures. He has tricked Hercules into doing his bidding in the comics, meaning he could also have helped foil Hercules' anger towards Thor. Number 4. MODOK had more personality than many villains. One thing the MCU is missing is more wacky villains. The closest Marvel has really come was with Justin Hammer, and he proved to be rather effective antagonist. MODOK would have been a great chance to introduce a villain with a big personality, and at first it seemed like Marvel was going to do a good job. Despite some debate over the quality of MODOK's appearance, the character himself was pretty fun. It was also an interesting twist making MODOK Darren Cross, as this given him a more personal connection to Ant-Man and his allies. Unfortunately, MODOK dies after a hasty face turn, resulting in the MCU losing one of its more original villain concepts. Number 3. Wanda Maximoff deserved a better death given her history. Wanda Maximoff is unique among MCU villains, as she has moved back and forth between hero and villain. She was initially introduced as an antagonist in AVENGERS, Age of Ultron, before joining the Avengers for a few movies. This made her return to villainy in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness carry a lot more weight, even if it could have been handled better. Wanda's eventual death at the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness ended up being a pretty unceremonious send-off to her character. She had been around a long time in the MCU and deserved a more emotional death as opposed to just having a wide shot of a mountain crushing her. Though Wanda's death seems official, hopefully Marvel finds a good way to bring her back in the future. Number 2. Red Skull is the perfect villain for symbolic storytelling. Red Skull has often been used in Marvel Comics to symbolize an antagonistic force, though this was originally the Nazis during World War II. Red Skull has been reimagined over the years to represent any morally reprehensible group that stands opposed to Captain America's values. Bringing Red Skull into the contemporary MCU would give Marvel a meaningful way to comment on current events, like when Ta-Nehisi Coates used the character to comment on the issue of online radicalization. Technically, Red Skull might be alive in some form in the MCU, despite dying previously in the timeline, as in Avengers Infinity War it was revealed that his soul was tasked with watching over the Soul Stone. However, the movies don't really tackle what exactly this means or how Red Skull came to be there. Either way, Red Skull in his human form seems dead and gone, which is a shame for the MCU. Number 1. Karli Morgenthau presented Captain America with a new type of challenge. The leader of the Flag Smashers, Karli Morgenthau, died in the MCU as a result of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier arguably mishandling her character. Initially, Karli is set up as a very difficult antagonist for Sam Wilson to deal with. He sympathizes with her cause and wants to find a way to help Karli and the rest of the Flag Smashers instead of resorting to violence. Unfortunately, the MCU was seemingly more interested in wrapping up Karli's story than finding a solution to her complex problem. So, in the last couple of episodes, Karli's method became far more extreme almost out of nowhere. This leads her into direct conflict with heroes and results in her eventually getting killed by Sharon Carter. Had Karli been kept around a bit longer, she'd have continued adding meaningful depth for Sam Wilson's decision as a Captain America. Instead, she turned into a mustache-twirling villain, which seemed like something of a cop-out. Okay, Fox, what's your opinion on this matter? If I've missed something, be sure to let me know in the comments. And thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and subscribed, make sure to also like. And see you next time.